Today, and in the woodyard, the enemy is at the gate. It's time to take action. Here we go. So yesterday when you were here, you saw me move a bunch of dirt. I kind of finished up the berm, which is right off to the left here, to your right, my left. Right over there, I kind of finished all that up. And the little bit of snow we had did not stick. It kind of melted on contact. I guess west of us and north of us, they had like an inch or so, but ours pretty much just melted, which was good. But the bad news is that it got down to like around 15 degrees last night. So the ground is starting to freeze and it's pretty cold out. The good news is the wind went down because yesterday it was pretty windy. And what I mean by enemy at the gate is that tonight and tomorrow we're supposed to get 2 inches of snow. And then north of us, 2 to 4. So, and that's supposed to stay cold. So the snow might be here to stay after this round. So that means it is time to cover the wood that is dry and ready to sell. Now, I've been asked by a lot of you over the, the time that I had my channels, do I cover the wood? And yes, I do. But I don't cover it right away. What I do is I cut, split, stack it, and I leave it uncovered pretty much all year long. For instance, if I had wood that I did last spring that I had stacked, I just leave it uncovered the whole time. I want the sun and the wind to hit all of it the whole time. And there's some of you that agree with that and some of you that don't agree. I like the elements to do its thing on the wood. But the one thing I got to stay away from is the snow that piles up on the wood, and then you get days that it would partially melt and you get water running down into the wood and it turns the wood into a wood sickle, I like to call it, and it all just sticks together. And if I'm selling wood, I want it to be dry. So all I do this time of year, right about now, every year, is I cover the top of the wood, and that's what I'm going to do today. I've got a bunch of tarps that are ready to go, but I also have a bunch of tarps that are great big billboard type tarps that I buy, and I think I got one in particular that's 14 by 45 or something like that. And then I got another one that's like a half size of that, and then a couple other smaller ones. But what I like to do, and you're going to see it, and I've done this before, is I'm going to cut them down so they are 5 foot wide and 9 feet long. The reason I do that is a full cord of wood is 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, so I have a little bit of extra. So I'm going to cover just the top. And by cutting those smaller pieces, I'm able to cut a full cord at a time. And even if I've got a row of, say, 2 or 3 or even 4 full cords together, I just do it in sections, covering it, and I have it overlap slightly. And it's much easier to handle the tarp, because I have found over the years I've covered with a great big huge tarp. Once you get snow on it, you can't move it. The snow, it gets, a foot, 18 inches deep. You can't move it. Well, you can, but you got to shovel it off, and it's just a pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do is put just those small pieces on there so I can pull one piece off at a time. That's the other thing about having really big ones. If you got a really big tarp, even if you roll it up and get the snow off, you still got more tarp to deal with wood that's not uncovered yet, that you're not going to be selling yet. So mainly I'm covering it to keep it dry, keep snow off of it so I can sell it. If I've got wood that is not going to be ready till next year, I'm not going to cover it. There's no sense in covering it. I don't care if snow gets on it during the winter here. There's no reason to cover it because I'm not going to sell it yet. It's not going to be ready till next summer or next fall or next winter. So the fresh stuff that I'm cutting now is going to stay just like it is, either in piles or stacked. But then the stuff that is ready to sell this year yet, or for the next 4 or 5 months, I'm going to get it covered today. So we're going to go cut some tarps up first, and then I'm going to do some covering. The other thing that's great about today, I should mention, is that the wind went down, like I said earlier. When you're covering your wood with tarps, it's nice to have no wind. It's nice. If you've ever used a tarp in the wind before, you know what I mean. Basically, it's just a giant sail, so that's not a fun thing to have. So we're going to go do some cutting of some tarps and then some covering right now. Now some of these piles you see I've already got covered. I covered a few of them up because we were going to be getting some rain. This was, I don't know, a couple weeks ago I covered these because this is all wood that's ready to go and I wanted to keep it dry. So I put the tarps on and I throw some timbers on top or some chunks of wood just to keep the wind from blowing it off. That's something I wanted to mention too. The other reason that smaller pieces are nice is that they're much easier to manage as far as keeping the wind from blowing them off. Once you get a big tarp, if it starts to lift a little bit in one spot, all of a sudden the whole thing goes. It just catches the wind. Same thing if you're using tins or if you're using aluminum siding, anything you're using to cover your wood. The bigger pieces tend to be more of a pain. I find that it's nicer to keep it where it's a smaller size. So we're going to go up into the parking lot up here now, because I pulled out my tarps that I have to cut yet, and I'm threw them onto the blacktop here so they could warm up a little bit, because it's, I don't know, it might be 20 degrees right now. But it feels nice because the sun is out and there's no wind, so it doesn't feel bad at all. I'd rather have sun and no wind and colder than you know, average temperatures and wind, because then it just goes right through you. So here's the tarps. This is a half of a billboard size. This is a full billboard size here. That's 14 by 45 or what, 48. Yeah, it's 14 feet by 48 feet. That's what that one is. And then that's a half of one. And then I got some black plastic here. I got some poly that I had left over. I might use some of that if I run out. And then these ones here I've already cut down. These here are already 5 by 9s, so they're ready to go. That's the size I want to end up with. So we're going to open this up and I'm going to cut it up. So here I thought I'd show you as to why I go to war with the mice. This is a tarp that's a couple years old now. The mice eat it. They eat holes everywhere in it. There's a hole here, holes down there, holes there. There's probably holes everywhere if I look. There's a flip over here. Yeah. Oh, and here's where it just wore through. Now this tarp right here is a lightweight one. This is similar to the ones you would get, like, you know, at most of the box stores for tarps. It's a lightweight. You can see how it's constructed. It's just woven kind of stuff here. If you look really close, you can see the actual crisscross pattern to it. So it's not super heavy, but it works, and they work for a couple, maybe 3 years tops. This is an example of a tarp that is 3 years old, of the heavier material. And here again, you can see there's a hole from where the mice chewed. Right there's a hole, and there's a hole. But this is much heavier material, this billboard material. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's just more, it's more plasticky. It's got more of a coating on it. And it might be a weave, but I don't think it is. I think this is actual threads through the material, crisscrossing. It's like a nylon thread, and then it's coated, but it's much thicker. And there's heavier ones besides this, but these work really well. This is one I just pulled out that I had stuffed back here. So now I'm going to open these big ones up here. I let them in the sun now for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to open them up, let them sit a little bit, and then we'll start cutting on them. So I just want to give you an idea how big these things are. When you open them, it's like, holy crap. They're big. So yeah, it's 14 feet across this way and 48 feet down to the other end down here. It's a big tarp. You would not want to have this get covered in snow. You're not going to get it out unless you shovel it off. So I'm going to start the cutting procedure right now. I'm going to cut them into sections that I can manage. So there they are. I cut 15 new ones, and I had 2 done already from before, and I just used one of the old ones as a template. And you don't have to be precise, you don't have to be exact, right down to the inch. And you're not going to get exactly 5 foot, you get like 4 feet and, I don't know, 6, 7 inches, 8 inches, something like that, because you got 14 feet across. So I cut them all just a little between 4 and 5 feet. somewhere in there, and then 9 feet long. And then at the end, the last 3 that I cut, you saw they were longer. They're probably 10 footers. But you get 15 out of a full billboard if you're cutting them to cover full cords. So you get 15, and I had a couple. Then I got this tarp. I'm not going to cut this big one here. This is like a half one. I might use that to cover the tractor until I get a shed, if I ever get that done, or a shelter. And I got a piece of plastic here, and I got an old tarp. And then I got a whole bunch of old tarps that are in back that I'm going to use too. So it's already clouding over. They said later this afternoon it could start flurrying, and then tonight snow. So I'm going to get covering right now and try to get some stuff covered. Try to get the stuff that's the driest, oldest, best wood covered, so that when I sell it, it stays that way. And I just listened to the radio a little while ago in between when I was getting stuff ready, and they said that next week it's supposed to be upper 30s to low 40s. So the snow we're going to get is going to melt anyway. So if I don't get it all covered today, it's not the end of the world. I still got some next week to do. So I'll get a bunch of it done right now. So I'm going to start right up front here with the maple. This is maple, and it's all ready to be sold because I've sold about half of it already. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4.5 full cords left from what I can see here. So that means I sold not 10, probably 9-ish, probably 9 full cords already, something like that. Maybe 8, I don't know, something like that, a bunch. This is what's nice to have 2 guys. But what I do is I try to just get one edge and try to get it so that I get the one end down low like this, and I try to arch it somewhat if you can, because obviously you want the water to run off, or down anyway. So I just put some on the sides like this, and you get one more big one up here. And it's always nice to use bigger, heavier chunks up on top here, and I try not to get them so that they're sitting in a valley, because it'll just collect a whole bunch of water eventually and turn into a big chunk of ice. So that's what I try to do anyway. And so yeah, this would be nice to have 2 people to do this, because you're kind of fighting it the whole time. I gotta go all the way around to the other side to get this. Okay, maybe I can squeeze in between here. I got some branches to worry about here that are underneath it. There we go. So yeah, the wind is the only thing you really got to worry about, because it'll lift pretty much everything and make it turn into a giant sail and blow it all over the place. That does happen. Looks like I'm gonna have to go around again and climb right into the tree to get this one down all the way. There we go. Just got to crawl right in here and dig this out. Yeah, and you got to watch too if you get any pieces that are sticking up really high. Because if you get a high spot with a log right there, with the wind just moving just a little bit, over time you wear a hole in it. So you want to get it as tight as you can and get it so that it's lower on the sides and the ends as much as possible. Yeah, I gotta get one more right in the middle here. And probably one right here. And that way it can drain off to the side. So that's pretty good. It's not great, but it'll work. And once you get them on, and you let it, especially if you get rain, if you get some rain, you'll see right where the puddles are, and then you just lift those spots up and get it so that it drains out. We're gonna move down to the next one here. This will be a nice one to get at, because I got all this junk in front of here. So this is why you want to also leave space between your wood piles for it to breathe, so wind can flow through there, but so you can get in between them too by putting tarps on, or just restacking or fixing it, whatever needs to be done. But yeah, leaving a little bit of space is a good thing. And you might ask, why am I putting the black side up? Number one is because it looks a lot better than having this hanging out and having all these piles that show. The black just kind of disappears. It's nice and dark. And I think also, this is just a theory, that it creates a lot of heat up on top when the sun is hitting it. So it helps the wood dry a little bit. It's almost like a little oven. I'm just making that up, but it makes sense to me. I don't know. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. So again, it's gonna go on to the end here with a couple chunks. And then some in the middle, some on the edges. Yeah, I better go around and sometimes I take these and throw them up on top too, but I'm not gonna on this one. Because these will be sold pretty darn soon, I think. So, I'm not that worried about it having to be covered for a long time. There we go. Now I can go around to the other side again. Okay, so again, I just kind of pull it tight, lift it up and look and see if you got any high spots. Because if you do, you want to get rid of them. Right here, it's a nasty looking piece. Put that one up there. And I'll put a couple there. One there. And that concludes two. Got two covered, so it doesn't take too long to do that. It works pretty good. So I'm gonna do the rest. Well, so far I got the big cookie bin covered, and I got these piles over here. This is stuff that might be good yet this winter yet, stuff that I cut last spring, and it's drying as we speak, and hopefully it'll be dry enough to burn yet this year. That'll be the last stuff I sell because it's the newest stuff as far as for this year. And I got these two piles right here covered, and then I got this pile right here covered, and then all these piles through here, the ones that are all with tarps on them all through here, all covered. And I covered pretty much everything on this side of the wood yard, on the west side. So all the stuff is covered through here, and this is where I started up here. And I did some stuff right over here too. I got some a little bit of cherry left that I got covered. So I did this pile here and just a little bit right here. So that's all I've got left for cherry for this year. And I still have got to get, well, this is stuff that's kind of somewhat covered from last year, but I got all of this old stuff here to cover through here. This is all dry. over there, that's already covered from before. And then all this needs to be covered yet for this year. But I'm running out of time. It's starting to get dark out, so that's all I'm going to get done for today. Tomorrow I'll do some more. Hopefully we don't get too much snow and I'll be able to get it all done. So tomorrow I think is going to be it's going to be cutting or splitting or something. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. You should come back and find out. Between now and tomorrow, get outside, get cutting. That's all I got for you. Good night, Irene. Hey, do some poking of buttons. I forgot that part.